claustrophobic mind, and I am not the vagrant kind. Baby, I just wanna take you home, so lose the grip and make it on your own. Later, you've got a claustrophobic mind, and I am not that vagrant kind. Not that vagrant kind. Yeah! Feels like heaven's come down. In this moment, I'm stuck in the fire. Something went terribly wrong. Time you be on your own. The soul's the only one carrying the fire. Last time till you really call your name. Was lost, you can't deny the Clichés are falling like rain. Lost the fact that we're all the same. Give the fallen a sign. Moving, but we're falling behind. The soul's the only one carrying the fire. Last time till you really call your name. Was lost, we can't deny the
Hello, chat. Hello. How we doing this fine evening? How we doing this fine evening? Are you built for it tough? Do you got your cock in your hand, chat? You got your give me like an Arthur Morganism. I got my dick stuck in a butter churning barrel. I'm just saying, when the butter was leaking out of the hole, looking real fine. I had to do it. You know. Dutch. Dutch, I'd put Tabasco. Dutch, I put Tabasco in my pee hole. I got it trapped in there. My lumbago's hurting. You blew your car. Hope you feel better. Playing that ass game where the girls are shooting guns. I remember, Dutch, I've seen things in this here art commentary community. They did a 3-hour long video on The Last Jedi, and they say that there's women in it like 5 times. Mr. Streamer, can we reschedule this stream so I can take a nap? No. Dude, I can't believe the fruit goal is winning. You guys don't want me to say. Yee. And I cannot stress this enough. Oh. Yeah, man. So I wanted to talk about Zaid today. I got some of his old videos, which is pretty pogchamp. I don't know how to spell Harambe. But I got his old videos from 2020 to 2025. Dutch, I once got my dick sucked by a medicine woman. I don't think she liked my medicine. And by medicine, Dutch, I mean my peanuts. I spelled Harambe wrong. I ain't fixing it. I ain't fixing it. How did you spell it? HRMBE. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Anyway, fucking yeah, man. The deleted Brony archive was kind enough to put together a nice thread of movie review videos from MisAnthro on a deleted Brony video archive, which is a really funny and specific channel that exists. Honestly, I'm kind of curious to see what the fuck else is in here. I'm surprised that there's more than like one guy. You know, I've talked about my time experiencing the Brony fandom. It was very interesting. I didn't really have any bad things to say other than that some people were stinky and Baltimore sucks. But you know, them's the breaks. Do we get Zaid yelling at a guy and threatening to do a drive-by? You know, we'll see what happens. I don't know if Zaid's uploaded since you know, I need to know his review of Snow White, man. Nintendo Switch 2 is a giant scam. So wait, no, this wasn't the review of Snow White, right? This was him just looking at a trailer. I can't remember, dude. I can't remember. We might end up relitigating it. We might have a double jeopardy by accident because Diesel has the brain of a goldfish. I am interested to see the Switch 2 video. You know, fucking it's mad expensive, man. I get people being annoyed about it, you know. I can't really front on that.
Celebrates 22 months of membership.
Thank you, Slaw, for being a 22-month long big dog. Holy shit. Dude, Slaw's holding this up. He's more like a dumber, more culture war pilled version of MisAnthro. Yeah. So I wanted to. Okay. So let me just say
Cool
right off the
Anime
bat,
Girls celebrates 12 months of
dude.
membership.
Cool Anime Girls has been here a year too. That's crazy. Cowboy Goblin emote. It'd be cute. It would be cute. That would be cute. That's a good idea. So I wanted to cover his like Invincible coverage. For those of you who've been around on the stream, you know that I just reread Invincible. And I'm a huge fan of Invincible as a comic. It is actually probably my favorite comic. And it's great. It's great. I could praise Invincible quite a bit. And then Slow with the 10 gifted, very based, very poggies. Thank you. I played D&D with Slaw like last night, and his character is great. But Leo Beef. So by the way, Lio Convoy did like an April Fool's video on me, and he was almost there, but he had to dad finger wag at me about me making fun of Zaid's dead dad. I'll try and refrain from that today out of the kindness of my heart, but like he's the one who swore on his father's ashes. So I mean, who's really the real problem there? I don't care like how insane he is. Puerto Rican on Mexican violence. Many such cases, many such cases. Browner than I remember, Mr. White Race Savior. So I got a take on Amber, right? I got a take on Amber. I got a really hot take on Amber. I know everybody gives Amber shit, but I think show Amber is a lot better than comic Amber. And then on top of that, I think the dynamic of a significant other to a superhero being kind of pissed off about it makes sense, right? Because it's just like this partner that you have is a superhero and they're constantly trying to manage your relationship with them. So in a way, it's like that superhero trying to manage work against you, right? And it's like, I could understand like a person being annoyed if their partner is focusing on superheroing rather than spending time with them, especially because it's like there are other people who can handle it just as much as Invincible, right? Invincible is probably he's the most powerful hero on Earth, but that doesn't mean like the other Guardians of the Globe or other superheroes are completely incapable of stopping a lot of the threats, right, that are out there. I hate Amber in the animated series. I think Amber in the animated series is probably the better version of Amber. Honestly. Like she's a lot more down to earth, and even when they break up in the show, she's not like a bitch. I mean, she's like angry about it, but she's not like a rancid asshole. And then she's supportive of Eve and Mark when they get together because she understands that they come from a more similar world, right? So they fit together. The problem with and the point of Amber and Mark having a relationship is to show how different Mark is from other people around him, right? How do you feel about the animation compared to the pacing of the comics?
Zaid lost his father to the roast game. Pass it on.
I can't believe he was eaten alive. Crazy. They actually poured him in a soup. You know, he was like a little pepper, you know, spicing up the chili. Yeah, I think the pacing in the show is a little better. They're mixing in some of the extra stuff that was either in the Invincible universe comics. So like the stuff about Adam Eve's origin story, or the stuff about Britt. Britt's the old guy who works with Cecil. He's like an invincible guy who's an old man, and that's his shtick, right? But there's a whole comic series on him. A weird change between the comics and the show is that it's not like it's Seance Dog, so he's a Doctor Strange character, but in the comics it's Science Dog, and he's like a smart dog that builds inventions. I mean, does Amber matter when we know how the comic deals with Mark's love life? Well, the thing is that they've made Amber a more important character to the TV series.
I don't know, man. Imagine getting mad at your firefighter partner because they get called in. I get what you are saying. Maybe if the focus was more on Mark being dishonest rather than the superheroing.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I think the purpose of the relationship works really well for telling the story, right? Like, I can dislike Amber as a character, but like I've seen arguments online where people would just prefer she's not there. But like, you really need Amber to be there to exemplify how important the difference between Mark and other people is, right? Because Invincible is like a person on Earth, but then in the same breath, he's so much different than other people. And by the way, this happens with other superhero couples too. Mary Jane and Peter Parker have shit like this all the fucking time, where Mary Jane gets irritated that Peter is doing like superhero shit all the fucking time, right? That's constantly happening throughout the comics. But yeah, there's a bunch of that. Obviously, I'm gonna be spoiling like literally the entirety of Invincible on this stream. So if you're interested, go read it. But there's a lot, and some of it has changed between the show and the comic. I'll point those out if they come out, right? When MJ and Peter haven't been a couple for 20 years. Yeah, but the movies are rehashing all those bits that you've seen, right? And I got really, really big news. Nobody reads comic books. I've been reading a lot of comic books. I'm reading Spawn right now. That's one of the big ones I'm reading. I started reading, and I was talking about this before stream with Uncool Greg. Shout out Greg watching WrestleMania right now. But I was reading Irredeemable, and I was like, I did not like it, and I dropped it. I'll actually tell you guys what else I was reading right now. See, Diesel, pretty please read Black Sad. Okay, that one, I've seen the game. There's like a game on fucking Steam. It's like a Telltale game. Let's see. I've been reading the Cyberpunk 2077 anthology series of comics. Those are pretty good. Let's see. Image Comics, Rook Exodus. I'll go like back and forth between these. Like, I'll read an issue here, and then I'll read another issue of something else. Just that way I get like I'm trying to get a good breath. He's like Black Sad is like a cat. He's like a cat guy. I also started reading Godslap. My main reads right now are Spawn and Godslap though. Those are the two that I'm reading. But I do have Fables, the Fables series in my to read list, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Anyway, I am going to go on. Actually, I'll also say what I've completed, because there's been some that I've finished reading. Yeah, actually, I've only finished Lovesick and Invincible. Lovesick I've talked about before. Lovesick is like about a cannibal cafe on the dark web, and it's about this lady called Domino, and basically her dealing with the mental anguish of having auto-assassinophilia, but being in a position where she's a person of power and managing that against her want for acceptance from the man who originally kidnapped her. Super fucking dark, super fucking fucked up. I mean, like, I've not read anything so like vile and violent, and it's great. And it's great. Diesel, will you read One Piece? It's a little too long. But yeah, like the thing opens with her killing an old man in a snuff film, and then it immediately follows that up with her killing a twink in another snuff film. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude. Also, the art's really good. And yeah, I did start reading Lovesick because I thought the main character was hot, but she's clearly mentally ill. And way too mentally ill. Anyway, enough yapping about the that stuff. Sounds like it is unironically not for the faint of heart. But I would recommend it if you like dark fucked up stuff. Like, it is really, really good. I definitely want to take some of what that was and put it into Cyberpunk campaign I'm running as a DM. Definitely really original. Highly recommend. I need to get a physical copy. Anyway, I need to look at some of this, okay? As much as I want to just yap about things I enjoy endlessly, you guys come here to see me tear other people down. She's mentally ill, so you're type Diesel. Yeah, I mean, she's also goth and like a dommy mommy, so like, yeah, but she's also a cannibal, and that's like bad, man, and I would not approve of that behavior. I was enjoying the yap session. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't finished enough comics to feel like I'm well versed in the in the franchise, or like in the genre, right? What else? I was telling the ops that I was reading when I was younger. I read Federal Bureau of Physics. What's the problem with Zaid? What isn't the problem with him? But I've definitely been trying to read a lot more. Godslap is also really good. Critical is not the only writer on that. I don't really know what Critical's influence was on Godslap the story, but Godslap is a lot of fun, super cool, like cyberpunk martial arts setting. It's sick. I don't know what's going on, but I can fix whatever woman Diesel is talking about. Diesel's so woke he thinks cannibalism is bad. I don't know if the jar video is different from the deleted video, but I guess I'll take a look at the jar video first, because I actually haven't seen that. Why is he looking at porn? What did I miss? What happened? Cat, I'll show you the cover of the comic later.
Hey, Robo-Man, I'm here to do the collab.
Awesome! After I saw your video on Amber from Invincible, I knew you were the
Dude, Amber, and it's just the word racism. That was very loud.
perfect person for the job.
Ah, don't flatter me.
Hey, can I jump in on this too?
No.
I think Amber's character gets a little too much hate, and I wanted to dispel some myths about the character.
Of course, Professor Dreadlock, the more the merrier. A video about 3 men discussing a fictional teenage girl is much better than just 2 men discussing it.
Hey Jar, you should be careful respecting—
Why is he talking from inside like the fucking toilet room, dude? Why is he not like present?
MisAnthro's pronouns.
I'm actually a guy.
What the fuck is this? This is a minute of like, I don't even know what this shit is. What is this?
Really?
even though you have a pony avatar and you're called Miss.
Oh, no. It's a spin on the word MisAnthro.
Okay, so you hate people, meaning you're like the Joker. You just want to see the world burn.
No, yes, kind of. It's a long and complicated story.
Sorry for my roommate assuming your gender identity without checking in. I'll make sure he does better in the future.
Was that a joke? Was that a joke? What was the point of that, dude? What was the point of that? I don't even know how to acknowledge what just happened. I guess I did laugh at it. I didn't laugh because it was funny. I laughed because I didn't understand what it was. No, this is an old video. I'm digging up corpses from the ground.
Being a YouTuber who doesn't show their face is kind of like being a superhero with a secret identity.
No, it's like being an unemployed NEET that wears a mask. Okay.
Even the power dynamic. And while this might make me sound pretentious, this is merely an analogy that I'm using. But does this mean I have to tell anyone I'm dating that I'm just a robot? Because that's...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That should be like one of the first things you tell them, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Oh my god. Imagine burying the lead with the person you're seeing about like your fucking income, dude. Oh, what do you do for a living? Things.
Amber's logic.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
People wouldn't have disliked Amber as much if Mark's friends didn't immediately side with her. Even though Mark saved them plenty of times.
It doesn't, that's not the fucking point of the character. They're normal people. They more likely understand Amber's position. All right? Like, I don't...
to his hidden identity.
Shut your f***ing mouth! Shut the f*** up, you cunt!
Which was the thing that allowed him to solve their problems. Remember when stories allowed for nuance? Well, that's dead.
This is stupid. Are you fucking kidding me? Are these people stupid? I'm sorry. Like, okay. I understand that this is media criticism, and ultimately it's whatever anybody's opinion on anything is, right? But it's very easy to tell the role that Amber plays. And I'm not trying to be the sole authoritative source. But again, like, I literally just finished reading this. Okay?
Because writers have
like a character being an asshole does not mean that the show is poorly written, right? Like, people not liking Joffrey is an example of really good writing because they were able to make somebody so reprehensible that people didn't understand it was a TV show anymore and started like harassing the actor. Okay? Like, honestly, while show Amber is fundamentally better than comic Amber, I kind of missed the idea that she thought Mark was selling drugs the whole time. I don't know if, like, I can't even imagine that working in the show with the whole dynamic Mark has with all of his friends, which, by the way, guys like, what's Mark's friend's name? The gay friend. I'm sorry. The gay friend with the cyborg boyfriend. I know he has a name. I don't fucking remember it, but William, thank you. Okay. William has, like, almost no role in the fucking comic series. The only role that William holds in the comic series is to be a sounding board for Eve's mental health issues, right? Where he sits around and tells Eve, this is what I think. And that's the only thing he does, right? William has a lot to do in the show in comparison, right? To just go to show you how much the show like changes up differences from the comic, right?
have to spell out that more.
Also, William's whole like sexual identity is like not learned until like fucking midway through the series, by the way. But they just like put it right out in the front, which makes more sense. I don't know, like in the early 2000s when it was written, I understand him hiding it from Mark, but it makes sense that this version of William doesn't hide that from Mark.
Mark was in the wrong. What would have served the story better? Would it have been a genuine clash of ideas? Where one of his friends sides with Amber while the other one sides with Mark? That way the story could have explored both ideas, their strengths and weaknesses.
Hello, your computer has virus.
And why some people think one way while other people think another way. But sadly, the story was artificially slanted in favor of one idea over the other. But as frustrating as Amber is, Tila is somehow even more annoying. While Mark kept his
Thoughts
secret-
on Invincible Season 3? I thought it was good. I think the fight with Conquest was really great. It'll be nice to see what they do with the original like plot that they're adding into it. I kind of have a feeling they might try and pull some characters back from the dead using that hell stuff, but I'm going to hope that they don't do that.
for a few weeks to a few months, especially with it being something he really should keep secret.
Yeah, Highland in the chat has a really good point. It's important to know that Amber had no idea what Mark was doing, and she never consented to being in a relationship that risked her life. She found out Mark was invincible, but she had no idea he had gotten his guts grinded in, and it felt horrible after what happened with Omni-Man. Yeah, it's like that's another thing. And by the way, these are well treaded. Like these are things you've seen in superhero stories before the Amber Mark relationship, right? Like you've seen it with Spider-Man. That's been like something that's been like redone over and over. You've seen the whole plot where like a superhero is with his significant other at dinner, and then a fucking monster shows up and he's like, sorry, I gotta go to the bathroom. And then he runs and then he goes fights the monster, right? Because he was actually wearing his suit underneath his suit the whole time, right?
He-Man kept his sacred identity for several
Dude, the fucking He-Man discourse, dude. I'm gonna go watch He-Man. This shit's annoying the shit out of me so much.
years. And keeping a secret identity is fucking hard. I, as a YouTuber, want to tell people I'm just a robot, but I can't do it.
I honestly think if you told me that you were a middling-sized YouTuber in a conversation that has nothing to do with that, like you were, like it was waiting on you, like you trying to tell me your sexual identity, I think I might laugh at you. All right. Like if you, I would be a very welcoming person if you were coming out of the closet to me. But if you were coming out of the closet to tell me you're a YouTuber, I'd be like, so you're unemployed.
Blows up at He-Man's parents after he recently died, which is one of the scummiest things you can do to someone after they died, just for keeping a secret from you.
Yeah, I feel like if you get in a relationship with a superhero, listen, the efficacy of this is that you like the superhero should tell the significant other that they're a superhero early into the relationship. So that way, you know, they can see whether or not they're comfortable with that responsibility in a relationship.
In my Too Many Mary Sue's video, I said this line. And the worst part is, she receives no consequences.
Why? Okay, but I cannot believe that a bunch of this video is actually dedicated towards the same fucking He-Man complaints I've heard 40 billion times now.
Doing this. What are we trying to teach women, that they can act like total bitches and not get slapped in the face for it?
After saying that and uploading the video without taking it out, I thought I'd get cancelled. But it turns out most people agree with that.
Well,
And
because the idiot morons are the ones that go looking for complaining cartoon videos. This is the reason that, like, Any Demon, Geeks and Gamers, Quartering, Andy Pants Gaming, etc., the list continues, all still have careers. Because people get annoyed that a reinterpretation of a show is different, and they get fucking mad. Like, I don't know, I understand, and I empathize with people who are really, like, upset about the, shows not being representative of their original formatted media. But, like, I like the whole like we should lynch this is like insane. Like I understand the issues with Devil May Cry. I am only familiar with DMC5 and the Ninja Theory game where he had black hair. Okay, so I'm only familiar on the basis of playing those two games, and I understand what is different about this interpretation of Devil May Cry. I will probably just look at it and go, okay, this is a completely original thing, whatever. But there are a lot of other people who are like, we need to kill Adi Shankar. This guy, he got away with Apu, but we're not going to let him get away with this. And then also when the Castlevania show came out, they were also mad about him. But I think the Castlevania show and Castlevania Nocturne are actually pretty good. But then again, Castlevania doesn't really have like a defined canon, or the games are so old that nobody gives a fuck about the canon. So
Yes, I think no matter who you are or what gender you have, if you blow up at someone's parents after their son just died, you do deserve to get smacked across the face.
unironically, the fact that Peter hides his identity often leads to people around him getting hurt because they aren't aware of the threat to them. It literally puts MJ at risk. Yeah, we sit here and we're like, okay, if superheroes were real and there was a superhero in chat, I would tell that superhero, you probably should tell, like, your girlfriend you're a superhero, okay? Because she needs, that's a lot of responsibility in a relationship.
I have no idea why modern media, with its great potential, have these female characters who have extremely toxic reactions to men keeping secrets from them. And
if my girlfriend was going out at night and fighting crime in pajamas, and she didn't fucking tell me, I'd be like, yo, what the fuck? Like, we have the benefit of being an audience member, so we get to see both sides, and we know that one character is objectively correct, right? Or we have a very good understanding of why a character is correct, right? Because the ends justify the means. If Mark doesn't fight crime, the world is taken over by the Viltrumites. If Mark doesn't stop Omni-Man, the world is destroyed, right? Like, so we understand that Amber's anger is unjustified, but she's just a girl. Are you sure?
yes, while it is true that keeping a secret from someone is not really the greatest thing to do, but if it's something this important...
The reason why some people felt that way is because the general public would think that the series is that's what the series is like and not play the games. I think a lot of the people who sit down and watch a thing on Netflix are just never going to play the games. I've played like 1 or 2 Castlevanias since watching the show, but like the experience is so like totally different. I think it's just 4 different people. You know, maybe DMC is going to be a bit different because DMC has a much more concrete anime story. So these changes are going to be an issue for people. But I think a lot of people will just sit down, play DMC5, which, by the way, I've seen people say, like, people watch the DMC show. I saw this happen on Twitter. I saw this chick watch the DMC show, pick up DMC5, and then people were like, that's wrong. You got to start at 1. It's like, oh my God, dude. We got to start with the game from 20 years ago. Let them play whatever the fuck they want. Are you kidding me? DMC5 is great. Like, I don't know how you can... Obviously, there's stuff you won't understand, but, like, I enjoyed it anyway. Like, I had a really good time. I think the characters are a lot of fun. Dante's this, like, fun, sexy goofball. Fucking the rest of the characters are, like, sexy ass motherfucker. Like, I don't know how you could hate that show. Hate that game, excuse me.
Then yes, it justifies keeping a secret. It's so weird to me that keeping a secret that you have an STD before and after having whoopee with someone, it's just a misdemeanor in California.
I'm sorry, but this is not comparable. What does this have to do with anything? I know that this is supposed to be a Zaid video, but like, Jesus Christ.
Keeping a secret that helps prevent people from going after your friends and family is just despicable. I've noticed that there's been a shift in how people are trying to portray superhero tropes. Originally, you had various archetypes which each character fell into. However, this seems to have changed during the 2010s. Look at Korra from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh my god, these motherfuckers only watch cartoons for 10-year-olds from the year 2000 onward, bro. Okay, all right, the Superman archetype has been, examined from every angle since its inception, all right? At least since the 80s when postmodern comics were getting a lot more popular, right? People were questioning whether or not Superman is really the good guy for a long time. We have Injustice. The Boys is a complete critique of superhero media, okay? Watchmen is very old, okay? And it is a critique of superhero media. This is not new. It is not something that just happened in the 2010s. It was happening before this in comic books. All right?
You're on thin ice.
Like it's just like, okay, I'm doing the thing. I'm sorry, but it's just like, it just shows you how much stuff you haven't engaged with, that is your basis of understanding, right?
Mister. First you get my monkey god wrong, and now you're getting Avatar wrong. All mixed up. You better watch yourself.
Dude, everybody in this video is fucking part of the inner circle of the autism ethno stage are starting.
Gene head.
She's strong, independent, but she doesn't put anyone down. Well, except for Zuko for the first time, but ignore that for now. She is, what I'd argue, the perfect female superhero. And yes, I count her as one.
Christ. We could keep this on the Invincible, literary analysis, okay? Fucking Adam Eve, guys, like a great example of a female superhero if we're gonna keep it in the same universe. She's a very important character to the Invincible series, obviously, right? Shit. I'm trying to think. Witchblade has been on my to read list, but I've heard good things about it. But like, oh.
She has superhero water manipulation and saves people with another superhero-like entity. Throughout the series, we are shown her downsides. And shockingly, when she gets onto people for no reason, it shows—
Ranting for Racism made a response video to the anti-woke mob criticizing him. Oh, the comic book guy? Oh, we'll definitely look at that.
As a bad thing. But more importantly, her strengths—
I will say this. The guys who hate the woke stuff and all these really dog shit media critics have really made me go out and explore more media. I know that sounds insane, but it's just I was so fed up with how surface level all the criticism was that I have really gotten some really enriching experiences with comic reading, for example.
Are so apparent. Despite her shortcomings, she's still likable.
Now compare this to Amber. The entire scene with her and
Amber isn't even comparable to fucking any of those characters in Avatar: The Last Airbender because she's a normal high schooler and those are tweens with superpowers that are fighting in a war.
was just her lording it over him that she knew he was invincible. The story itself treats the situation as if she's right, and she's never shown to have downsides. Despite that, being snide and generally hostile to your significant other is a pretty big downside for most people.
She was annoyed that Mark wasn't being open with her. She just wanted Mark to be honest with her, motherfucker.
And that's the main difference. Not that she's a woman, but because the story is artificially slanted in her favor, and a lot of her traits don't work with this—
Okay, guys, if I have a secret double life and I don't tell my partner, I understand why my partner would be annoyed. I also understand why my partner would continually get annoyed if I was continually hiding it from them and they knew anyway. Like character flaw, yeah, like having a character flaw is not the same thing as it being bad writing. People being shitty people in shows is not an example of bad writing. You're allowed to have bad feelings.
Angle the writers went with. Oh, and if someone tries to use the race card, yes.
Oh, who the fuck cares that Amber had her race change, dude? I can't.
Was white in the comics. She was a completely different character, like how Mary Jane is different in each Spider-Man reboot. And what Tila did was way worse. Now, I haven't really watched Masters of the Universe Revelations, but I don't think I need to in order to know how terrible Tila is. Because from the clips
I'm gonna watch this stupid show. I'm gonna watch this stupid fucking show because I'm really tired of hearing this thing. Okay, I'm gonna go watch it because they constantly bring it up.
Her behavior is completely repulsive. I mean, first you have the
Don't,
scene
it's
where
not good. I can't even begin to tell you how in the floor my expectations are for the He-Man TV show. Okay, the He-Man She-Ra TV show, my expectations are like negative numbers right now.
Goes up at everyone after her parents just found out that their son was killed. This is basically what she was saying throughout the whole scene. Yeah, your son and our hero died, but what about She's supposed to be a grown woman, but she's acting like a teenager on her first period. Granted,
Diesel's going to love it out of spite. No, because like I'm 20 hours into Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I think the first 12 hours are pretty good, and then it becomes a modern Assassin's Creed game, and it's definitely starting to eat away at me because it's too much.
Randor's reaction was cringe-inducing too, but Tila is being completely insensitive to people who are grieving and processing the information that their child and close friend just died. But if you thought that
Didn't
was
he
bad,
not watch
wait
the
until
show?
you
Why
see
is he talking about it? Didn't he say he didn't watch it?
this later scene, where she basically blows up at Adam for the unforgivable act of sacrificing himself to protect his family and the world he calls home.
Let me be angry.
Because I lied?
Yes, because you lied. And I couldn't even scream at you for it because you were gone.
I died.
Yeah, and the rest of us had to live with it.
Are you shitting me? Forget the fact that she's getting on someone's case for dying. This is how she talks to her brother after finding out he's the hero who's been fighting to protect their world?
What's this have to do with Amber? What does any of this have to do with Amber? This is about shit. This is the He-Man video again. Listen, motherfucker, if it takes you more than a day, you probably want to lay off the beers.
That's She-Ra. This is Tila. This is supposed to be He-Man, but you made it seem like...
I don't understand what's going on, dude.
This is supposed to be the hero we have to root for? That is horseshit. There is no way they intended for someone like this to be relatable. There is nothing sympathetic about this in the
Again, what does this have to do with Amber? What does it have to do with Amber?
slightest. What does she even mean by that? Is she saying she wished he stayed dead and is now pissed finding out he's alive after explaining what he's been doing and planning to stop the villain to save everyone again? I'm supposed to believe He-Man is to blame for Tila's feelings? Good lord. That's not even how a normal person would react to finding out their lost family member is alive. That is borderline sociopathic. Who actually cares that he wasn't telling the truth about being He-Man? He was fighting to save everyone from being enslaved by Skeletor. And all you care about is how he was lying?
No, I don't want that.
Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you. I've seen women on Tumblr who are more pleasant to be around.
Okay, listen, man. You're really not helping the case of this show, dude. I cannot. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna enjoy the shit out of this show.
And on top of that, fuck you.
All I'm doing is just like ignoring this because it's just like, what does this have to do with a completely different show?
Evan Smith, you are shit on a dick for doing this to Tila. How in God's name do you do something like this and convince yourself you improved the character? Oh yeah, we're a bunch of angry toxic fans for being rightfully upset that you think this is what's best for the
you're angry toxic fans because you can't articulate any of your points, one. And then two, like, you complain because thing different, thing bad. Thing make me feel bad, thing bad. Because thing bad and make me feel bad because it's different. Also, what does any of this have to do with Invincible? This is a video about Invincible, but we're doing the He-Man video again. But this time, the fucking dead dad guy is here.
And franchise. Holy shit, you are absolutely pathetic.
And now, for your listening pleasure, I present to you Professor Dreadlock in the Amber Renting Hour.
Dude, this editing is like actually just the worst. Okay, it is not like I hate this.
Oh, good for you!
Oh, so you're gonna try to defend Amber, eh? Well, we'll see about that.
Mark doesn't have to date Amber.
Why is his fucking microphone in a tin can, brother? All right, why is he in the funny room made of tiles?
He doesn't.
This is hurting. I hate this. What does this have to do with Invincible?
Have to be in a relationship with her at all.
Amber was the first serious relationship Mark ever had. While you can make the argument that he didn't need to date her...
Why is Dr. Dreadlock playing a straw man? Dr. Dreadlock is just a straw man in this. Okay, I get it, because there's hay behind him. Sorry, Chad. I didn't realize. My streamer brain, 2 IQ.
Understandable as to why he wanted to be with her.
Yes, it might have been his first argument, and yes, it might be understandable why he wanted to be with her, but it doesn't justify his behavior. One of the themes of Invincible is the idea that being a superhero means sacrifice. Sacrificing a normal life for your duties, sacrificing the individual for the group, sacrificing X for Y.
Alright.
I know Dr. Dreadlock is playing like the straw man, but quite literally the other guys haven't presented a point. So, like, I don't even know how you can disagree with Dr. Dreadlock's point when their entire argument is predicated on Amber's a bitch.
I'm only gonna say this once. Stop using themes to justify bad writing. The theme of...
That's... Okay. So, why is Amber getting mad at Mark bad writing? Explain it, right? Because the theme is one thing, right? But when we talk about a character in a story, right, the character holds a certain mechanical role, right? I'll give an example. I'm writing a thing, right? And in the first chapter of this thing, a character dies, and that character is in a relationship with another character, right? So the point of that character dying is an inciting incident. Mechanically, they spur the main character on to do the thing that they want to do or that they have to do, their responsibility, right? Obviously, the relationship is important, and we get the context that the relationship is important, but mechanically, we don't need to know everything about that character because ultimately, the point of the character is to do that thing that pushes the story along, okay? Amber's point in the story is to push along those themes. Like, the themes are tied in to what the character does. They represent an idea. That's the point of fictional stories, that they can convey an idea using things that aren't real.
Superheroes and sacrifice doesn't change the fact that Amber was a badly written character.
The fact of the matter stands that...
You didn't explain why she's a badly written character.
She's written humanly. She, at the end of the day, is a teenager. It's not really a case of using themes to justify bad writing. It's using themes to justify...
I unironically, okay, if Zaid doesn't bring out the the fucking glupshido explosion take to like really tie together his point, again, the only person who has presented a point in this video is Dr. Dreadlock.
Bad people in stories, because bad people exist in real life. As we can see from many scenes of the show, Amber is not a bad person. She is just a teenager who did something very bad. And so is Mark. The problem is that Mark wasn't willing to make that sacrifice. He wanted it all, to be the hero and to be with the girl he had his mind on. He might have genuinely cared about her, but if he cared about her as...
Mark is an idiot, okay? I don't know if you guys have read the comics, but if you've read the comics, you know that Mark is a fucking idiot, all right? Mark not telling Amber makes total sense, right? Because he's stupid. And he's like, if I tell her, she'll get hurt. But ultimately, not telling her is the thing that gets them hurt, right? And Mark's growing as a person requires him to fumble it with Amber and his relationship, right? So the only reason that Mark becomes open with Adam Eve and the stakes that are necessary for their relationship is because he wasn't open with Amber. So Mark would not have had that growing experience as a young person if he didn't do that with Amber, right? Because when he asked Adam Eve out, he's like, I like you, I know we're superheroes, blah, 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 right? And even still, Mark doesn't learn his lesson fully because he doesn't tell Eve everything that made him ask her out, right? In the show, you see this. Mark learns that alternate reality Adam Eve had pined for Mark and they never asked each other out. And so that Adam Eve was like, make sure you ask me out. And Mark was debating whether or not he should tell Eve whether or not that was, because that was weird, right? So that causes a strain in Eve and Mark's relationship because he wasn't honest about something he was told, right? It's about Mark realizing that being open and conversational and honest with people is what builds stronger relationships. And him not being honest with people is what causes conflict, right? So Eve and his relationship starts to falter because he wasn't honest with Eve, all right? And then they eventually get back together. That's a direct comparison to his relationship with Amber, where he wasn't honest with her, so the relationship fell apart.
much as he cared about himself, he could have saved a lot of effort by deciding when he was going to tell her. Or, alternatively, if he was in a place in life where he could have a relationship in the first place. The problem is that Mark wasn't willing to make that sacrifice. He wanted it all, to be the hero, and to be with the girl he had his mind on. And he wouldn't let go of that, even if it meant lying to her and leading her on again and again and again.
But Mark wasn't being disrespectful to Amber. He didn't think of her as a prop for proving he can have it all. He legitimately cared about her and made an effort to be.
He did care about her, but he didn't understand the nuances of care sometimes require that you tell people hard things. Okay? That's part of what he learns as a person. All right? Mark's brother is another great example, right? Where Mark's brother does something very bad and kills some people, right? And his relationship with his brother gets worse because he doesn't sit his brother down and talk to his brother about why it's bad to kill people. Oh my God.
There for her.
From his perspective, she didn't know his identity. Imagine for a second that you don't know Mark as the main character. Imagine you're in a relationship with someone who always has excuses, is constantly flaking and lying and flaking and lying, and you don't know the reason why. You don't know if there is a reason why.
The only person who's given an argument is Dreadlock, and he's 100% on the money.
And in most cases that don't involve your partner being an ultra-rare superhero, There isn't a reason.
That might have been one thing, except the story wasn't written that way. The show gives us very clear reasons for why Mark couldn't make it, one of which was being brutally beaten and disemboweled by an alien anthropomorphic lion creature. And as for Mark's perspective on how she did...
It doesn't matter because all those things happen downstream of Mark having the conversation when he first starts dating Amber, okay? When Mark first started dating Amber, he needed to tell Amber that he was invincible, okay?
Didn't know his identity. That doesn't change the fact that Amber did know about it and reacted horribly. We see things from...
She's mad that she wasn't told by Mark. She wanted Mark to be honest with her. That's why she's mad.
Both Mark and Amber's perspective to let us understand how they're feeling. But Amber's perspective stopped mattering the moment she revealed that she knew for weeks, and still thought he was in the wrong for preventing global disasters instead of entertaining her.
Were there reasons he couldn't keep flaking on her? Yeah, he was getting his face rearranged daily by aliens and furries. This is all the more reason why he needed to make his decision earlier.
So
his circumstances are extraordinary, but from his perspective, Amber believed him to just be a normal teenager. This is the perspective he attempted to leave Amber into the best of his ability.
They literally had this communication issue in their relationship, which is Mark would have just not grown as a person if he didn't have the relationship with Amber. Invincible is about Invincible, okay? That's who it's about. So all of the things that happen in the comic and the show revolve around Mark, all right? The comic even more so, right? The show is given a lot of extra spice to the other characters, right?
So this is the perspective we need to judge his actions by. Once again, this in no way justifies Amber's actions, given that she actually did know. He didn't have to lie, at least not more than once.
He needed more time to process the weight of revealing his secret identity to someone he didn't even know for a full year. You could make the argument that this is more Eve's fault for dropping this on Mark, but it's legitimately helpful advice for a rookie like him who was just starting out.
Mind you, I understand that people need time to process their situations, especially when things get dire in life, but
also, I love how Amber still means a lot to Mark, even after the breakup. Yes, right? She obviously understands, okay, Amber, here's what Amber learns from her relationship with Mark, that sometimes there are extenuating circumstances that mean you can't be in a relationship together. It's actually a really adult thing. Sometimes people realize that we can't really be together because of very practical reasons, even though we still like each other. So we're going to give each other distance. That's actually a really important thing to learn. And fucking Amber being adult about that and supportive of Eve when she starts dating Mark is the perfect girl boss thing to be doing. I don't...
Common sense would dictate when not to drag loved ones through the mud. And is it so hard to just say, I've been going through a lot in life right now and I need to get it straightened out before I can date you? Is that okay? He could have given her a reason, accepted her desire to break up with him, and left it at that. From his perspective, she was only given a reason once, and that was when he ended up in the hospital. She didn't dump him because he wouldn't go with her to the soup kitchen. She dumped him because he was being a selfish liar in the relationship. Ironically, however...
Yes! Quite literally, yes.
However, so was Amber. I see grown adults out here trying to rewrite the show by saying she broke up with him because he flaked, and I can't tell if they are lying or lying.
She was given a reason. Eve told her Mark was severely wounded and was in the hospital under critical condition, and she still dumped him because she thought the soup kitchen was more important than the fact that he got ran over by a bus.
The soup kitchen is not that. I don't... It wasn't because of the soup kitchen. I don't know what to tell you. The entire relationship had issues the entire time because they weren't fucking communicating. Oh my god. She thought her boyfriend was a normal fucking guy. I don't know what to tell you.
That's not a good reason to break up with someone at all.
Now,
she could break up with Mark because his dick is too big. That's life, all right? But that's not what the story is.
This in no way excuses or justifies Amber's choice to lie to him either. And I know that she's not
Exactly. She was deliberately not saying that she knew so she could put it back onto Mark when she should have just been like, Mark, I know you're invincible. Can we please talk about this? Why are you hiding it from me? All right. Literally, it's about the communication.
popular character, and people are going to say that this is justification. Amber had the most information out of either party. She knew what his rationale for lying was, but time and time again, she chose to lie to him.
Either one of them could hold the most responsibility in this situation, right? It's not like a cut and dry situation. Mark can die any day because he's superheroing. So he should tell Amber that he's invincible. Amber should tell Mark that she knows he's invincible, because her not being honest that she knows is making her angry at Mark, when they could nip this in the bud and have a conversation about it, right?
Feign ignorance over and over and over again, knowing that it would cause him extreme emotional distress. Sound familiar? She made him jump through physical and literal flaming hoops to see how far he would have gone to keep up the lie, how far he would have gone had she been ignorant to the truth. This is abuse. She could have told him she knew his identity and made the choice of whether to break up with him so much earlier on, but she waited until he told her. She doesn't deserve him, but he also doesn't deserve her. They were both shitty in their own ways, though I will admit the consequences of Amber's actions could have led to much more than a broken heart. And she is the more morally wrong person in the situation.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Why are you doing that? Why are you throwing away your entire argument? Why?
But please stop treating Mark like he's a perfect little angel and practically retconning the story to make him seem like such.
I covered a lot of this.
Mark is an idiot, dude. Mark is an idiot. Mark does a lot of stupid things in the comic, okay? And other characters comment on how stupid and bullheaded Mark is.
Already in my second,
right? Like the same way that this whole like responsibility angle is played out, right? Think about Mark's relationship with Cecil, right? Cecil's like, we can be the good guys or we can be the guys who save the world, right? It's a really good line, right? Because Mark's interpretation is like, I have this really rigid understanding of morality. It only works one way, right? And I refuse to acknowledge any other path. And then Dinosaurus happens, okay? And when Dinosaurus happens, Mark has to think about whether or not his perception of good is truly good. And it has him deal with the fact that sometimes things aren't as cut and dry as he'd like to think them to be, right? And maybe Cecil had something to that.
Video on Amber, but this is literally a list of reasons why she was in the wrong, more so than Mark. She's a giant hypocrite, chastising Mark for lying when she herself was lying. She actually thought it was necessary.
That arc was crazy. Yeah, dude, if you tell someone who hasn't read Invincible that a guy who's a shape-shifting genius dinosaur completely levels Las Vegas, you'd be like, there's a dinosaur in this fucking show? What?
Keep doing this, which continuously caused stress on them both. I watched Manga Comment's video on the subject and he brings up more fair points as to what Mark was doing wrong. I'm not gonna say he was being the best boyfriend in the world, but the problem is that the show itself doesn't bother to look at both sides. It actively says it's all his fault and doesn't bother to take any of Amber's bullshit into account. This is why everyone hates her and the way the show showers her with—
I really think that people just don't like Amber because she was mean to Mark. And your perspective on the show is through Mark, so you understand why Mark is hiding stuff, right? But in that situation, you would not be on Mark's side. If you were Amber, I can't imagine anybody being on Mark's side, whether you knew or didn't know.
With praise, because it acts like she's innocent in all this when she clearly isn't. Even if Mark wasn't being a good boyfriend, he wasn't doing anything toxic. Amber was being a thoroughly toxic person and demonstrated toxic behavior even before they started dating. While he wasn't the best at handling the relationship—
What do you mean? She was like a fucking, I mean, at the most, before Mark and Amber started dating, she was like one of those rah-rah feminist girlies, but like, what, this was—
relationship, it was possible to sympathize with him because his situation was far less petty than Amber's. She's not sympathetic at all because her frustration with Mark never comes from a place of understanding, and her "looks like I'm not the only one who is being lied to" line really cements just how terrible she is. Being lied to is not in any way a healthy thing to relate to in a relationship, and it certainly shouldn't be the thing that encourages the two of you.
They were both lying with each other. They were both lying, okay? Like, it doesn't justify Mark's lying. Mark's lying is unjustifiable.
get back together. If it wasn't for Nolan...
It's so weird when they argue like they're real people and don't understand having conflict makes stories interesting. I mean, a conflict should be believable, right? But I think this totally hits those boxes in the context of the Invincible universe, right? Like the whole shtick here makes complete sense.
Lying to Mark his entire life, she wouldn't have given 2 ounces of a shit about his responsibilities, the lives he was saving, the global disasters he prevented, or how his entire family...
Like, I get it. Like, the ends justify the means because Mark's saving the world, okay? But it's like, we understand the cosmological picture here. Amber is a person, okay? Like, in this world, we understand that aliens kind of exist or, like, monsters show up into superheroes, right? But Amber doesn't understand the sheer stakes of it, okay? The GDA, Cecil, and all those people understand how fucking dangerous a character like Omni-Man is. Mark understands how dangerous a character like Omni-Man is. Normal people thought Omni-Man was a fucking superhero.
Was just torn apart by Nolan's years of deception and cold-blooded killing. She's a terrible girlfriend, a terrible person, and a terrible character no matter how you slice it.
Hi, Editor Cam here. So that was a video. A video that was like working on a cancer patient. Like at the...
These guys, this is like, I'm literally on the fucking video. I say short bus, dude.
And they were just kind of arguing, I guess. I don't know, it was really weird. But, yeah. So they never really recorded a proper outro, so like, comment, subscribe, whatever. And, you know, I guess, just what do you think?
All right, so MisAnthro has a whole fucking 17-minute video on this. He didn't really explain why Amber is a terrible character other than saying that she's like a asshole for lying. But like that doesn't make her like a bad character. It just makes her a dick. Oh, both the show and the comic. Okay, let's see. Let's see.
For those who may not know, I've been on a huge kick with the Amazon Prime series Invincible. Based on the comic book series by Robert Kirkman, this show has quickly become one of the most talked about this year, not just as an adaptation, but also as an individual cartoon. It does so many refreshing things with its genre, separating it from the likes of Marvel and DC Comics. The storyline is fresh and satisfying, with so many well-written characters. It also presents its action scenes in a very unique way, being more upfront with its brutal content without being gratuitous. It delves into the more realistic aspects.
I don't know, man. I think Invincible could be a little gratuitous. I think the comics will actually kind of pulls its punches a lot more.
Aspects of superhero life.
Not that I dislike that. I like that. I think Invincible does the fucking gore and violence a lot better than like The Boys.
Without being cliche and gimmicky, using Mark's complicated lifestyle to get a better perspective on the hardships and responsibilities of being a hero. It strongly focuses on the character's...
Okay, so he understands the whole concept with Mark. So he gets it. Like, he understands that.
With a fundamental structure, allowing you to engage with the cast on a more personal level. And
Mark should have ended up with Anissa Zaid. Oh, I wonder how that's gonna go, dude. Okay, next season of Invincible, I'm calling it now, clip me. Next season of Invincible is gonna have this whole rigmarole of the woke guys, like the anti-woke mob, complaining about it. Okay, all of them are gonna complain about it. Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna spoil the next season of Invincible for you. Go la 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 la. This entire fucking stream is a spoiler. Okay, Mark is gonna go away. And he's going to, you know, stop the Viltrumite invasion and all that shit, right? Eve is going to think that Mark died, okay? And she, like, you already know this. This happens at the end of the last season of the TV show. Eve is pregnant. Eve is pregnant. And, yep, uh-oh. And she doesn't want to keep the baby. So she's going to have a bit of this emotional turmoil where she's like, I'd want to have a baby with Mark, just not now. And she'll get an abortion. And she'll become very depressed because she thinks Mark is dead and all that stuff. And Eve is going to get fat. Eve is going to get fat in the next arc. She's going to be on a depression binge. And yeah, Eve is going to get fat. And she stays fat for a really long time, actually, in the comics. And it takes her a while to work that weight off because when she uses her powers, it burns calories. So eventually she loses it, but not for a bit. Now, Mark is going to come back and he's going to learn about this abortion. And he's going to see that Eve is fat. Okay? And Mark is going to just, unless they change it, Mark is going to be supportive of Eve's decision. Okay? And everybody is going to say that that's super woke because Mark didn't get a say in the abortion. But Mark is just going to be supportive, which is actually really good. It's actually a really great, I think Mark is a really great example of a non-toxic male role model, personally. But he's supportive of Eve's decision. He also doesn't care that Eve is fat. He's like, I think you're beautiful. I think you're beautiful anyway, and I love you. And then honestly, it kind of comes off in the comics like Mark's kind of into it. He's like, damn, girl, all that ass for me, right? So Mark's going to be supportive and be like, you're still sexy. And I'm telling you right now, chat, they are going to lose their fucking minds. Okay, they're gonna be like, "This is woke. This is you're gonna. It's all gonna happen. It's all gonna happen. Everybody's gonna bitch and moan about the next season of Invincible having all this woke shit in it. I guarantee you." Knowing them, they'll probably be more angry of him being accepting of her weight thing than the whole abortion thing. Yeah, I mean, probably, but like, ultimately, yeah, that's gonna happen in the next season of Invincible, and it's gonna go on for a while. Eve's got a lot. What will the responses be to the Anissa thing? Oh boy. Yeah, the Anissa thing is also gonna be one that one's gonna also cause a lot of people to get up in arms, right? 100%. I think the comics actually handle that really well. But it is going to set some people off. I don't know what's going to happen there. They're going to Makima Griffith her. I mean, the comics kind of do that too. All right. Something tells me they're going to cut that Anissa thing, methinks. No, because of what happens at the end of the comic, they can't. That's actually, I don't think they're gonna cut it. I don't think they should. I think they really need to tackle that theme. I think that's an important theme to tackle. It's too important. It is quite literally too important to the plot. So the Viltrumites are going to Earth. Diesel.
Diesel, do you FW fat B itches?
Yeah, I do. Thank you for asking. You know, I could use someone to finish my fries right now. That'd be good. I didn't know it was that important. Yeah, it is actually important to the ending. That's how important it is. I will save the Anissa thing. I don't want to try and spoil too far ahead. I just know what's coming in the absolute next season. I don't know if the Anissa thing is going to happen next season or the season after next, but it's coming.
It has a very dedicated voice cast that delivers great performances, making each character feel much more believable.
Will you ever do an interview with Zaid MisAnthro? You know, I'd love to.
I was actually very surprised by just how good the show turned out. It's not just one of the best shows of 2021 so far. It's also turning out to be one of the greatest animated comic book shows ever made. It just feels like a perfect show. Well, almost perfect.
Did you hear what I just said?
People didn't like Amber in the comics either, by the way. They were annoyed with her then. But like the character just kind of holds that position in the plot.
You're a superhero.
You know?
I'm not an idiot. I figured it out weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying at this point that Amber is the loose screw in this show. Everyone has already talked about how she's a terrible character, and I've actually made a couple of videos on
Characters being assholes is not the same as a character being poorly written. I don't know, like I that seems to be a common thing I see happen with like YouTube media criticism, where a character makes you feel bad, and so you say the character's bad.
a topic myself. One where I review the side characters of the show, and another where I have fun with the idiots of the world who think any sort of criticism towards a character in a story that happens to happen.
And also, I have a feeling that the race thing might actually play a role anyway. I'm sorry. It just, you're the type.
Dark skin automatically makes the video maker racist. However, I will admit that I didn't do that much delving into why Amber was a problem. The reason for this was
Comic Amber was like the ditzy blonde type. Yeah.
Because the first video wasn't meant to focus solely on Amber. It was meant to be a roundup review consisting of characters outside the Grayson family. I felt like if I really wanted to talk about Amber, I'd have to give the subject its own separate video. I was occupied with a few other things at the time, so I didn't immediately start working on it. But now I do feel like I have the time to make a video delving more into Amber and what exactly went wrong with her. So basically, here's how it goes. Amber is introduced as a potential love interest for Mark after she saves him from a school bully. Eventually they get together, but with Mark being a superhero, he won't always be able to make time for Amber, which obviously annoys her. In spite of
No. You're also presenting it in a way that is not, is like sweeping. You're like sweeping for a fictional character right now, okay? Right? Mark even like has this whole bit where he's like, oh, do I tell her? Do I not? Do I tell her? Do I not? Right? That is out there in the relationship, right? So that whole conflict is established very early on in their relationship.
it does lead into an interesting plot point.
You left a girl in your room while you flew off to deal with a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I mean, not good for her, but good. That's the tricky part of the job. Balancing what you want to do with what you need to do.
Part of being a superhero is knowing how to have
Yeah, exactly. Omni-Man is right. Omni-Man is he's re-explaining the core conflict of the entire series.
Priorities and accepting the responsibility that comes with them. Obviously, saving the world from destruction is more important than getting to a date with Amber on time, and this is something Mark has to learn. It's a way for us to see how he manages his multitasking skills, and how he can juggle his superhero life with
I'm sorry, but I consider the guy that took some kid's blood to create a younger clone version of himself without any consent to be more morally questionable than a miscommunication. Are you talking about Robot? Are you talking about Robot there, Lunar? Maybe. Boy, people got a lot of feelings about Robot.
trying to have a normal one. But there's a problem with how the show handles this subplot. There's no investment in it. And the reason there's no investment in their relationship comes down to a number of
yeah, the whole Robot Monster Girl thing. Boy, you non-comic readers have no idea.
factors. First, Amber is an extremely flat character. Throughout her entire screen time, she has little to no personality that makes her stand out beyond love interest for Mark.
What? Okay, hold on. What? They actually gave her a lot more to do in the show versus the comic. Like, she's got all these, like, she's like a very well-spoken, educated young lady. She's really focused on her schooling. She has really strong moral principles of what she believes is right. She really values the idea of people who help others, right? Which is where you think, oh, maybe her and Invincible are going to work out because, you know, she does the whole soup kitchen thing, right? Like, she's got character traits, right? Like, what makes a character flat versus dynamic? Does anything happen with that? Does she change as a person? And she does. She does change and grow as a person. So I don't know if I'd necessarily call her flat because she grows and she becomes more mature because of the relationship she had with Mark.
With the rest of the characters being more interesting and memorable, it just makes Amber more forgettable. Oh, she's assertive and capable of kicking people in the nuts.
That's not like, that's an example of her having a strong moral principle, right? She believes in protecting the weak. That's the whole thing, right? That's why you sit there and think, oh, maybe they will be together, right? That's the whole will they, won't they thing.
And that's about it. I'm serious, I've watched this show several times since my first viewing of season 1, and I still struggle to remember any personality traits beyond tough-talking black woman.
Are you're just racist. You're just racist. Tough-talking black woman, brother. Amber's character traits are really well founded, and literally 0% of them have anything to do with her being black.
Because of this, there's no real chemistry between her and Mark.
Okay. Like, the reason that her and Mark, I keep repeating this, right? This is something you see in the Spider-Man video games. I don't know if it happens in the comics. It probably does, right? But Peter Parker and all them, they work with the fucking, the homeless shelter, right? And part of why a lot of people are like, oh, Mary Jane and Peter Parker make sense is because Mary Jane helps out at the fucking homeless center, okay? Like, these things are examples of why a superhero would be interested in a person like her, right? And this happens all the fucking time. The comic book that I put down, and we'll probably end up picking up again because I just talked about it, Irredeemable, the lady in Irredeemable who is attracted to the evil Superman in that comic book, right? She puts herself before others, or no, she puts others before herself. There we go. Let me correct myself, right? And even though she's a normal person, she saves people, right? And she helps the guy who's the evil Superman in this series, right? Like, silly people love Mary Jane because she's a supermodel. That too, but she's also a nerd and super quirky and blah 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 blah. Right? But you see that all the time where superheroes pair up with people who are like really like, they're bastions of the community. They're people who help others. They're selfless people, right? Like the whole like I help others and I don't expect anything in return thing seems to be like a really common trope for superhero relationships.
Completely outweighs her in terms of personality, which creates a strong sense of imbalance in their dynamic.
Invincible. The show's called Invincible, not Invincible in fucking Amber.
He doesn't do anything significant that couldn't have been done if Mark was dating some other girl. So
also, Irredeemable is a better deconstruction than the comic version of The Boys. Maybe I'll give it another chance.
Okay, Amber is just a bland love interest. There's nothing really worth getting upset about, right? Well, it doesn't stop there. Because the more you watch, the more you start to notice things that are off with her. Remember the scene where she got the bully to give Mark her phone number? Well, it's because she was blackmailing him and threatening to humiliate him if he didn't do so. The episode treats this like a cute comedic moment, but the thing is, there's nothing exactly charming about threatening to blackmail someone. It's manipulative. If Amber was interested in Mark, why didn't she just approach him herself? Why did she feel the need to blackmail someone into giving him a phone number indirectly while threatening to humiliate them? That's just needlessly cruel. And you wanna know why she even started taking an interest in Mark? Because she saw him and Eve together. I mean, she hears about Mark getting into another
She's not interested in Mark because Eve was interested in Mark. Listen, not to be that guy, but the show passes the Bechdel test, all right? And I know the Bechdel test ain't a good indicator of like a show, but like, brother.
Fight with a guy, but when she goes to talk to him about
the bully is the victim.
he mentions he has plans with someone else, and it immediately cuts to her watching Mark and Eve going off together. The look she gives them is already a bit suspicious on its own, but she actively went around asking people if they were a thing.
Yeah, because she likes him and she didn't want to impose.
I mean, why did she feel the need to butt into their business? And if Amber was curious,
oh my god,
couldn't she have asked Mark herself if they—
oh my god, dude. Hey, friend who is mutually friends with the guy I like, does that guy like me? Guys, have you ever been in that situation? Because I fucking have. Okay? Jesus Christ. Dude, okay, fun fact. Here's a story, Diesel story. I took this girl on a date to a yogurt place when I was back in college, right? We hit it off, everything was going well. And then I take her back to my dorm, and she sees my friend Danny, who's this quiet, long, tall, dark, and handsome guy, right? And she's like instantly like, Diesel, is your friend seeing anybody? That one's a little bit different, but like I was like, okay, I see where this is going. No, he's not seeing anybody. I tried to hook him up, but he was too shy. Yeah, oof. You know what? I didn't care. We were friends for a long time. And then she got mad about my opinions on something really stupid that I ended up being correct about. I think it was like a YouTuber drama, and she got like mad at me and was like, I am never speaking to you again. But it was like, oh, it was, fuck, was it Illuminati? Yeah, holy shit. Whoops. She really bet the wrong horse in that.
They were dating, it's really not that hard. Not only was she incapable of going to Mark directly to ask about a date, but also to ask if he was dating someone else. So what I'm getting from this is that Amber went out of her way to blackmail someone and manipulate them into getting Mark to go on a date with her because she was jealous of Eve.
No, you're literally editorializing the fucking, like literally, what are you, reading the fictional character's mind?
Jeez, what a bitch.
Oh, and it gets even better. So Mark goes to Amber after he recovers from his
This isn't even Jar, this is fucking MisAnthro
with Battle Beast, and what does she do? She tells him that she already dumped him that night. Wait, really? Mark almost died and has the bruises to prove it, and all she cares about was how he was late for the fucking soup kitchen? She was told
No, it's because he's running off and not being honest about where he's going. This is quite literally the same thing. He's also not explained what... Never mind.
Hit by a bus. He was in the hospital recovering for a week and still hunching over in pain. But the soup kitchen is the only thing on her mind. Woman, get over yourself. Feeding homeless people is not more important than the fact that Mark got ran over by a bus. And worse still, she tries hitting on some random guy at a college party immediately after dumping him. Why is this a problem? Because it makes her look like a giant hypocrite.
What do you mean? It's called a rebound, you weirdo. What do you never... Oh, you never be in a relationship with someone and then you break up and now you're like, oh my god, I need something to fill the void. So then you go find somebody to sleep with? Are you fucking kidding me?
She constantly rails on Mark about how he doesn't value her, but she clearly doesn't value him all that much considering how...
They broke up and then she immediately tries to rebound. What? Are you guys crazy? Are you crazy?
Quickly she was willing to jump ship. She doesn't even wait a full day after their breakup before she tries to bang a college frat guy.
Yeah, that's called... This is... I don't... Yeah, it's a rebound. She feels bad and she's trying to do something to fill the void. It's a common experience. Most people who go outside experience it, buddy.
And the only reason she stops pursuing him is because she finds out he already has a girlfriend. So she was clearly just looking for a rebound guy to feel better about how she dumped Mark. And of
So? I don't understand. You can't you can't finger wag that one and then say you understand why she was doing it. Right? Because like...
Of course, you have the scene where she reveals to Mark that she knew he was invincible for weeks. Weeks. As in longer than the time it took for him to recover from his fight with Battle Beast, on top of preventing a meteor from crashing into the Earth and fighting a supervillain who was attacking the city. She was fully aware...
Is he implying rebounds are a bad show of character? I mean, I don't even know. Like, I feel like it's not really a show of, like... I don't know. What is the moral implications of a rebound? Because I don't think it's really like healthy for a person, but then also in the same breath, I understand why people do it, and I totally get it, right? Like, I don't think it's an indictment of a person, right? Did he imply? I think he was implying Amber was a slut. I think that ultimately covers down to it. She wasn't being chased post her breakup with Mark.
Aware of all the crazy stuff he's been going through and how he just saved them from getting attacked by a cyborg, but insists that he was in the wrong because he wouldn't.
Rebounds don't have. I guess a rebound can be selfish. Right? Because you're thinking about, like, I feel bad, so I'm going to go get laid because I feel like shit and I deserve to get laid, right? Like, I could understand if somebody's thinking like that.
Tell her about his secret identity. Oh, and she was also aware of him being a superhero when she confronted him about being late to dinner with her mom. So, was all of this just a stupid test to see if he was willing to be honest with her about his...
Well, yeah, she was throwing it back on him to be like, I want you to tell me. When she could have easily have gone to Mark and been like, I know you're invincible. Can you, like, it's not fair that you're not telling me. Right? That's the problem.
Secret identity? You know, it's bad enough that Amber got upset with Mark for wanting to keep his secret identity, you know, a secret. But when you put that scene back to back with stuff like this...
I'd basically already dumped you that night.
This...
You said you wanted to start over. You said that. You promised.
And yeah, she was upset because Mark kept lying.
Amber, I'm in...
I don't think Mark being honest with you about his secret identity is the problem here. And you want to know what the...
It actually is. It actually is. It's actually the whole reason that they constantly keep arguing. It's actually the basis of all the miscommunication and conflict in their relationship. Okay? Like, Mark being invincible, her knowing about Invincible and not telling Invincible, and Invincible not telling her he's invincible.
On the cake is, she only goes back to him after he got the shit beaten out of him, was left in a hospital for weeks.
God forbid she have sympathy for a man she was dating. Jesus Christ.
And after finding out Nolan was lying to him his entire life. No, the timing of this is far too perfect to be just a coincidence. She is absolutely making a move on Mark while he's in a vulnerable state of...
Are you fucking crazy? Are you fucking crazy?
mind. Alright, Mark just found out his father is a genocidal galactic tyrant who manipulated him and beat him within an inch of his life, and just saw his mother being heartbroken about finding out her husband was a monster. This is the perfect opportunity to take advantage of his emotions.
I hate you so...
What do you mean? What do you mean? Guys, it's actually that Amber is gaslighting Mark into a relationship. You gotta understand. Oh, brother. What about every time Eve gets mad at Mark? You said you read the comics, motherfucker. Like... Eve gets really fucking mad at all the times like there are times when Mark lies or like does something stupid and Eve is pissed, or like Mark isn't able to let go of his whole revenge with Angstrom Levy, and Eve does not like that because she thinks that Mark is being childish. All right, now we know that Angstrom Levy is a fucking problem, but is Eve really wrong in saying that revenge isn't the way to go, Mark?
So much.
Now this is where everything comes full circle. So Amber knows that Mark is invincible. This has been made obvious at this point. But this just raises a bunch of questions. If Amber knew Mark was a superhero, why didn't she confront him about it? She had dozens of opportunities to let him know this
exactly.
was
That's, you understand. Okay, this guy understands like Amber's role in the relationship failing, right? But this is like a two-way street.
Her, so why didn't she just open herself up? What reason did she have for this dumb test to see if Mark would tell her his identity? There was no reason for her to keep up this charade if it wasn't something she wanted to work with. And what reason did she have to think Mark didn't value her if she knew he was saving her life half a dozen times?
It's because he's not being honest about the reality of the situation. Okay? Like the situation could play out completely differently if she knew that Mark was invincible.
Scenes with Eve vouching for Mark and telling Amber to give him a chance because he actually cares about her? Well, that didn't matter to her either. She completely disregards the advice that she was getting from Eve because Mark couldn't tell her the truth. I think what they were trying to do with this scene was make her seem smart for being able to figure it out on her own, but with all the full context leading up to this episode, it just makes her look stupid. If she knew Mark was a superhero, she would also know that he wasn't exactly hit by a bus that day. And in spite of being
what do you mean? It's not like, what was the fight with Battle Beast on the news? Because it happened in Machine Head's lair. It didn't happen like on the street, from what I know. I don't think it was all over the news. What do you mean? There was no way she could have known that she was fighting Battle Beast. Like, what? Also, the power scaling on Battle Beast is fucking wild. Okay, he gets like really powerful. Yeah, I don't really know how that happens. It's not really explained, but whatever. Fucking tiger fights people. It's based. Lion, excuse me. I'm stupid.
Of how serious his injury was, she still drops that selfish bombshell on him. The first thing he did when getting out of the hospital...
Yeah.
was going to visit her, and she doesn't give a shit about that at all. It makes no sense for her to be upset because he wouldn't tell her his secret identity, because he was clearly doing it for her safety and the safety of others.
Really was not telling Amber the thing that kept her the safest. I don't know, right? Like that, like maybe she wouldn't have put herself in positions where where supervillains could get her.
It's a common trope that villains will use loved ones as bait to get to the heroes if they learn their identity. There was no reason for her to keep lying to Mark about not knowing what he was doing, which continuously caused unneeded stress for both of them. If being in a relationship with a superhero wasn't working out for her, this is what she should have done. Listen, Mark, I know you're...
This character should have acted 100% rationally 100% of the time. What is this guy, a robot? Just a robot, perhaps? Right? But it's like, I get it, where it's like, if I was in this situation, I would act like this. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Everybody says that when they watch a TV show with the character, right? But the situation is different if you were actually in it. Like, I don't... Like, if I was into Walking Dead, I would have just shot someone that I loved, that I knew was going to turn into a fucking zombie. It's like, yeah, you say that now, but you don't actually have to put a gun to somebody's head and kill them. Like, Diesel, do you actually believe Zaid when he said he watched Invincible multiple times? I believe he watched it more than once. I don't believe he read the comics. And I don't believe he understands what he actually watched. I think he's one of those people who's like, I watched a show, that was a good show because it had cool stuff happen in it, which is fine. I think Invincible has a lot of cool stuff happening in it, and you can enjoy the show just like that, right? But if you want to engage with the themes on like a deeper level and get involved in the discourse with it, right? I expect a little bit more nuance in your decisions.
Superhero saving lives, and I'm glad you value the responsibility. But this thing between us isn't working out. I don't think.
Yeah, I get it. Like, obviously, dude, this guy, autism maxing, where he's like, if I was in a situation, I would act 100% fucking factual. It's like, yeah, I get it. But, like, fucking relationships are crazy and complicated like that, bro. Like, Jesus Christ. Sometimes you don't want to tell people things because you don't want to hurt them. Sometimes you don't want to tell people things because you kind of want them to tell you, right? These things happen all the time. And it ultimately comes from people caring but not knowing how to express their emotions or being bad at communicating. These are actually things that normally happen in relationships, and people grow older and understand these things and become better at communicating in relationships with time. Unless they're stunted childs, but, you know, that's a different story for a different day.
Can handle a relationship this complicated. We can still be friends, but this dating thing, I think it's best for both of us to drop it. That would have been a genuine way to let Mark down and let him know she couldn't handle this relationship. But what does she do instead?
We're fighting because you lied to me. You made me
Exactly. Holy shit.
feel stupid and unimportant.
Oh yeah, he doesn't think you're important. Like the time where he saved you from getting your organs ripped out by-
That's what Invincible does.
A killer android. And if you're going to prioritize your free time with Mark over literal human lives, you are stupid. The problem isn't that Amber gives Mark a hard time despite knowing he's a superhero, but because she has no respect for him at all. She was so selfishly entitled
and Mark
to her
doesn't have respect for her to tell her the truth.
Time with Mark and only cared about what she wanted and didn't
This guy, okay, you know what happens, and I get this, but there are a lot of people who watch superhero media or engage with superhero media, and this is fine, by the way. I think this is a really fine thing. They kind of like impart themselves onto Invincible, right? Where they're like, he's just like me for real, you know that? And I get that, right? I also read Invincible and go, Mark is just like me for real. And then when he gets with Eve, I go, man, I wish I had what they had. And I've talked about this on stream before, where Robert Kirkman doesn't understand why so many dudes ask for drawings of Adam, Eve, and Mark being like, you know, romantical together and like holding hands and loving each other. And Robert Kirkman had to be told, like, guys like romance too, you know? And it's just like, yeah, people impart those things onto Mark because he's a lot of the like every guy type of character. But like, I like that comes with the fact that you got to accept that, you know, fucking Mark has flaws. Mark is an idiot. Mark doesn't always understand the right thing to do. Sometimes Mark makes really rushed decisions. Sometimes Mark doesn't think with his head, right? Sometimes Mark puts his personal relationships over the safety of planets. That's something that happens, and it's something that he deals with. And as he grows into a man, when he becomes the same age as his father, he learns those responsibilities, and he starts to impart that outwards into the wider galaxy.
Anything he was going through into account. She spent weeks watching him doing his best to balance their relationship with his superhero life, and still acted snotty to him if he didn't show up to a date on time. She chastised—
Well, it's really easy for people to give advice about relationships when they're not in it. You know, that's just how it is, right? It's always easy to be objective when you're not the one in the relationship. But like, emotions are really fucking difficult when you're in a relationship.
is him for not telling the truth about him being a superhero when she herself couldn't be bothered to talk to him about how she knew his secret. She makes him feel guilty and stupid for preventing global disasters instead of taking the time to entertain her. She belittles him into revealing his identity to prove he didn't abandon her, and she still replies with,
And because you don't trust me.
I'm trusting you now.
Oh my god. I mean, it's cute you think that's enough.
But Amber.
Yeah, because he should have trusted her earlier. That's the fucking point. That's why she's mad.
Fly away, fly boy. Or take the stairs. I really don't give a shit. I'd like to be alone.
What an unbelievable cunt.
Some people have made the argument this is clever writing because it represents toxic relationships and how some women can be overly controlling of their partners.
I don't even know if it's overly control. I don't understand how you. I feel okay. Am I like crazy? Did I just read the room wrong? I know my chat's gonna agree with me, but I really feel like I've experienced a completely different thing than most of the discourse around this. I know. So I've talked about this with Hal. She also read Invincible, and she doesn't like Amber, and she's a woman. But like even then, I don't even know. Like I gotta ask Hal again. I just gotta ask her again. I wasn't paying attention, but I disagree with you, Diesel. Thank you.
Which is really goddamn fucking stupid. It's not tolerable when women act like this in real life, and it's definitely not
Dude,
tolerable.
it's always on women to be the ones that are rational actors, bro. It's never men. Motherfucker, sometimes we do stupid shit. All right? You ever think we have some wrongs? All right? I understand, yada yada, women's wrongs. What about men? What about us? What do we do?
Well, when characters from a
What's your favorite superhero from either Marvel or DC? I was saying at the beginning of the stream, I'm kind of an Image Comics Andy. I know maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's a little fucking cliche or whatever. I really like Batman. I really do. I know. It's like, okay, who the fuck wouldn't like Batman? Shouldn't you have something more kino? I just like the things that the Batman comics like discuss and get into. It's fun. It's just what I like. I enjoy Spawn. That's what I'm reading right now, and I really like Spawn. I like the themes that it's discussing. I am less excited about the 90s art style, but maybe that's just me. Nightcrawler's base. Yeah, it's like Batman's villains and how they're all foils of him is always great. But you know, I like some interpretation of Batman. I'm like, okay, what's going on here, buddy? I thought you were gonna say Nightwing. You know what? I picked up the Teen Titans comics because I'm reading. I have like an app that I read these comics on, and I actually really like how they characterize Adult Starfire. She's like kind of in charge of the new Teen Titans. This is like taking place at a time when Damian Wayne is Robin and Tim Drake is Nightwing. So she's like in her 20s and she's like leading the Teen Titans. She's not leading, but she's like she's a much more present character. And it's just really interesting to see her in that kind of setting because I was always used to the TV show from the 2000s. I use an app called Global Comics.
TV show do it. If this is supposed to represent relationships and how some women can be overly controlling of their partners, that's just a fancy way of saying Amber is a great motivator
You
for
should watch Faust. It's crazy as fuck. Is the Faust related to the guy who made the bargain?
Staying single. They practically turned her into a social justice warrior, constantly complaining about problems she doesn't actually have while making completely brain-dead arguments to justify her stupidity. It's like if
in what world is she a social justice warrior? She's very conscious of social issues, but like, so is Eve. Like, I don't understand. Dude, you must hate Eve. She's like even more of a feminist.
Was given a physical human form. If she really cared about Mark, she would have been afraid for him knowing he deals with really dangerous stuff periodically. With all the improvements Kirkman wanted to make to the original source material, it really baffles me that he chose this direction for Amber, making her such an overly entitled and prideful brat. Now, one other argument people have made for this case is how Mark made mistakes in their relationship too. They say things like Mark
Dude, they're all like homies, dude. They're all homies and they all glaze each other.
overly confident in his ability to balance a romantic relationship with his superhero life, how he could have made a better effort to be honest with Amber, how he should have realized sooner that this wasn't going to work out for them if his superhero life was too
Yeah,
complicated.
Starfire was dumbed down in the cartoon. Yeah, I like that she's more capable. And yeah, I'm reading, it's like the Rebirth era Teen Titans stuff.
And on some level I can see where they're coming from. Mark was a rookie at this point who would tend to feel overly confident in his abilities, so he obviously wouldn't think too hard about this. He could have been more responsible and try to think about this more logically. But there's still one problem with that. Even if you're someone who thinks
Dude,
both of them...
I swear to God, Zaid would be like, actually, Robot was totally justified in being mad at Monster Girl when he said he fixed her problem. You know, it's like Monster Girl didn't want helping, you know, but he would totally be the kind of guy who's like, actually, you know, Monster Girl should be grateful that Robot fixed her problem, even though she wanted to be an independent person.
made mistakes in their relationship, and both of them were wrong in this situation? The show itself doesn't think so.
Why Robot is unequivocally right by Zaid would be wild.
Breakup, Mark goes to William and Eve to talk about it, and this is their response.
But you were a terrible boyfriend to Amber, and you got what you deserved.
You're the one who told me not to tell Amber I was invincible.
Yeah, but I didn't tell you to string her along for 5 months while being an asshole about it.
This makes no sense. William just saw Mark getting the crap beaten out of him
It's
by...
okay, I understand these physical things happen to Mark, and not to be that guy. But Mark is invincible. I want to make a joke about what Robot does to Monster Girl later on, but I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, I'm trying not to spoil too much of the comics. And that's kind of a big one.
Group of robotic monstrosities, so he should understand the complicated shit he has.
What about what Zandale does? What about what Black Invincible does? Oh, that's another thing that people are going to get mad about? People are going to get mad about Black Invincible, for sure.
To put up with. And Eve is a superhero like...
No, you gotta say it like this. Mark is cut to Invincible title screen.
Mark. She should know how it feels to have a complicated life due to the responsibilities that come with it, including trying to balance a relationship. I don't see how he was being an asshole when she probably would have done the same thing if she was dating a non-superhero.
Yeah, but the point is that you're hiding it from your non-superhero partner forever. That's not cool. Like, that's like if I didn't tell my I didn't show my partner off to any of my friends for 5 months, and they're like, where the fuck are your friends?
Instead of Rex. Telling Amber his secret identity is the equivalent of sharing his credit card number after 6 months. What I'm getting from these two scenes is that Mark is treated unfavorably by the show, and it completely takes Amber's side while never acknowledging her crap in the scenario.
Did he say that about William? Did he say that William was trying to sleep with Mark? Yeah, what the fuck?
Their relationship problems is entirely his fault, but that's simply flat out not true when it's most obvious to someone who actually paid attention to this with full context. Any rational person would know that trust is built and earned over time.
Yeah, I get it. Yada yada, I'm a rational person, but people aren't actually rational. We all think, you know, common sense is great. We all think we have it.
But Amber decided that because Mark didn't trust some girl that he only knew for a few months, she should be mad at him for not telling her his secret identity. She knows he was saving lives, preventing global disasters, and that it wasn't exactly a bust that—
Nah, he didn't, but he acts like Amber should be like William. Oh no, Zaid will get me on that one.
Put him in the hospital. If Amber knew about it for weeks, then she should have confronted him instead of stringing him along, and then getting mad that he never told her while showing absolutely no regard for his circumstances. And even beyond that, there were signs that she was a toxic person even before episode 7. Remember how I said she was jealous of Eve? She only jumped on the relationship because she heard rumors of Mark going out with another girl. And on top of that, she threatened to blackmail someone if he didn't—
It's like she only went out with Mark for the status or something.
do what he was told. Yeah, he was being a jerk, but he didn't do anything warranting of being blackmailed like this. And remember the scene where she goes back to Mark after the battle with Nolan, taking advantage of him while he's emotionally vulnerable? She didn't go back to him because of a better understanding of the danger he goes through. She only went back to him because now she thinks they relate over being lied to.
Looks like I wasn't the only person being lied to.
Oh well, thank God Nolan was lying to Mark his entire life, otherwise Amber would have never forgiven him. If you want—
I think Amber's moral compass would have her go to Mark regardless of whether or not there was a lie. But also, You just can't do what happened with Omni-Man without a lie existing.
Want to make the argument that Mark was being a bad boyfriend, Amber was being an even worse girlfriend. She's obnoxiously entitled and thinks something is owed to her to the point of butting in on Eve's business. She's creepy and manipulative with how she threatened to blackmail someone. She doesn't give a shit about Mark's responsibilities as a superhero and only goes back to him when she sees how she wasn't the only one being lied to. She thinks her problems are more important than Mark's with-
Imagine if Zaid was in the chat. He'd probably start fuming over my profile picture being Kylo Ren. I'm an hour behind, but Diesel saying, "Are these people stupid?" cracked me up. They're incredibly stupid, media illiterate, and repeat talking points they heard from somewhere else. Well, the thing is, it's like, I don't even know what the originator of these points is, right? I've seen people complain about Amber, but nobody's ever able, like, I could understand being annoyed with Amber, but the problem is, it's not, I'm annoyed with Amber because she was an asshole to my character that I like. It's, Amber is a bad character and poorly written. Okay, and we're equating people being assholes in shows with poor writing.
No desire to learn about or understand his.
And this happens all the time, by the way. Invincible's a show I've watched and a comic I've read. So I can comment on it, but this happens all the fucking time.
She makes him feel bad for doing something that any other person would have done in his situation. She plays the victim card, acting like she's not being treated with any respect, despite that Mark never did anything with any malice towards her. And for all the time she spent complaining about how Mark wasn't being loyal to their relationship, she was instantly willing to bang a random frat guy that she only knew for 20 minutes after a couple of drinks at a college party. If Mark
Amber was a whore. She was a whore for wanting to get the rebound.
Amber got married and he was off doing superhero stuff and she was getting mad at him for not spending enough time with her. Tell me she's not the type who would start cheating on him and having sex.
Okay, now you're just straight up editorializing. You are literally just making up a different character now, okay?
With another guy behind his back.
You're just like, you're projecting, my son. What are you on about?
Amber's frustration with Mark never comes from a place of understanding to the point where it feels like she wants 100% control over the relationship and not letting Mark have a say in things. That is not a woman you stay with. That is a woman that you break up with immediately.
Something I see all the time is people circle jerking about Holden Caulfield being insufferable. Like, yes, problem. You know, Diesel, it'd be crazy if Mark forgives Amber and wants better for her. Yeah. Oh my god, dude. What is this? What is this? Hold on. Oh my god, this is funny.
Not to be that guy, but Mark is in.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
That is not a woman you stay with. That is a woman that you break up with immediately. I could talk about how Amber was actually white in the comics and how she reacted differently to Mark being a superhero, but I feel like it would be a moot point. Even if—
What do you mean? That's actually a really interesting point, right? Because the characters are completely different, right? Like literally the entire character of Amber was ditzy idiot blonde. Okay, like that's actually like she's a totally different character. Like the differences are what make what makes comic Amber inferior to show Amber. She doesn't really do anything. She doesn't really hold any like value to the plot overall after she does her her service with the whole bit, right? And then the whole drug dealer thing is played off like a joke. Okay, so like the entire thing is handled as like a fucking like bit scene. Okay, where here it's like actual character drama and character growth that moves the plot along.
you didn't make that comparison, Amber in the show would still be a terrible character. And even if you were to put all of that aside, it's still the same stupid shit that you've seen from every other time a story does this. It's a trope as old as dirt.
Yeah,
The
it's
guy
and Invincible plays into its tropes and recontextualizes them in a much more grounded setting. That's the point. Okay? Like, oh, what if superheroes were real? Well, there would probably be a government agency to track and monitor those things. What if superheroes were real? Yeah, well, when Superman fights someone, it probably breaks a lot of things. What if superheroes were real? Oh, well, there's probably a bunch of negative side effects to being a superhero, which The Boys does that too, but like Invincible does it better.
is a superhero when he gets into some wacky antics because he's keeping it a secret from his girlfriend and he doesn't know how to tell her about it. And the icing on the cake? It takes place at high school. Literally the oldest trick in the book. And I might have been okay with it if it wasn't for the fact that this stupid subplot takes up 3 episodes of content. Nearly half the season is devoted to
Invincible is way less cynical. Yeah, like Invincible loves the things that it's, you know, kind of critiquing, right? Like when Invincible critiques like the Spider-Man trope, it does it with like love. But when something like The Boys do it, it's like, I hate Spider-Man.
Getting into arguments with Amber over his superhero life. Couldn't you have used that time to develop other plot points? Debbie and
Do you think he struggles with things like Amber because Kirkman is directly involved with the show and it changes so they can't blame adaptation? Yeah. I mean, I think so. Yeah, it's like you could see that Kirkman actually does love superheroes. I'm actually I like a cynical superhero story, but there's too many cynical superhero stories now. It's really, really like exhausting, which by the way, I saw Captain America Brave New World recently. It's terrible. But something that really kind of irks me is that there's never a moment of sincerity. Any moment of sincereness is broken by some quippy joke, and that makes it the entire thing seem like miserable and shitty. Like Anthony Mackie's Captain America is talking to Bucky. So Captain America is talking to Bucky, who is a congressperson now, and which is really funny. But so they're talking, and he's like, I don't know if I can carry the mantle of being Captain America. And Bucky's like, well, he chose you because you're you, blah, blah, blah. And there's this really heartfelt conversation that they have because Captain America is really struggling with picking up the mantle after Steve died. And it's a lot of responsibility, right? And then Bucky finishes his like moment explaining why Captain America, Anthony Mackie, I don't know what his fucking character's name is. He finishes telling this speech to Anthony Mackie, and he's like, "Do you like that? My speechwriters wrote it." And there's like this whole like bit where they like undercut Sam Wilson. Thank you. Where they undercut it with like a joke. And I'm just like, but that was like a really touching moment between two people who were friends who lost a friend. And then one of them got bestowed this immense amount of responsibility. And you just killed it with like this like really miserable joke. And it's like, can't you just show that they love each other and they're good friends? You know, why does it always have to be quippy? You know, so it's really nice to see things like Invincible that are still like kind of recontextualizing the superhero stuff, but they actually care about it. And it's not like, oh, we're kind of just, you know, we're kind of miserable here. Like, part of what I actually like Gen V more than The Boys because the characters are less cynical about everything. I have a feeling that's going to change, but you know, they have like they're like, oh, I feel this way. I actually want to save people, right? And then they have to deal with the struggle against like, oh, the superhero industrial complex versus them actually wanting to be a superhero.
Diesel investigating the murders, Nolan's inner conflict between his loyalty to his family and his loyalty to Viltrum, the new Guardians training and trying to improve their teamwork, Rudy's relationship with Monster Girl. There's far more interesting.
He hasn't read the comics. I don't think he's read the comics. Let me go back. Hold on.
To tell her about it. And the icing on the cake? It takes place at high school. Literally the oldest trick in the book. And I might have been
So it's like now because it's tropey it's an issue, right? Like recognizing a trope from TV tropes does not mean it's bad writing. Okay, tropes existing is how we like codify and explain beats in a story, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. Something that's tropey can be just as good as something that's bad, right? You could have the, you know, the liar revealed trope be bad or good depending on your delivery of it.
With it if it wasn't for the fact that this stupid subplot takes up 3 episodes of content. Nearly half the season is devoted to Mark getting into arguments with Amber over his superhero life. Couldn't you have used that time to develop other plot points? Debbie and Cecil investigating the murders, Nolan's inner conflict between his loyalty to his family and his loyalty...
All of these things are actually explored, not only in the comic books, but in the show. I know time passes, so this video is old, and maybe only the first or 2 seasons were out, but like, brother.
Viltrum, the new Guardians training and trying to improve their teamwork, Rudy's relationship with Monster Girl.
Yeah, he hasn't read the comics.
There's far more interesting storylines going on with
I know people.
Far more engaging characters that are far more worthy of people's time than Amber.
Yeah, and they're given that time. There's actually a lot of time. In fact, after the new Guardians get established, you spend a lot of time with all of them.
Don't want this stereotypical high school drama bullshit we don't care about. Maybe this could have worked if Amber was written with just a little bit more intelligence, but she wasn't. And what we got is without question the worst element of Invincible's first season. A boring romance with a dumbass broad who's only there to make Eve look better for Mark in comparison.
I know I say broad occasionally, but I think that this guy is just sexist. I love women though. Me and women, the women love me.
All I gotta say is, they couldn't get together soon enough. Thanks for checking out my review. If you liked what you saw here and would like to support me, feel free to check out my Patreon in the description. Every little bit helps.
I think Amber in the show will show up continually. Maybe not as like a main character, but as like a side character because she's friends with other people. But that was just exhausting. Holy shit. Oh boy, that was rough. And long. And rough. That was just... Oh my god. Oh my god. That is so cute. Blue yokai cooking. Very based, very based. So did he read the comics? I don't know if he did. He might know broad strokes. I think it's hard for people not to know broad strokes about the comic, about like the Anissa moment or about the Viltrumite War, or like everybody knew about the Invincible War before it happened. That was... Oof. That was rough. It was rough. I'm not gonna lie. Oh god. He did a video on Velma. Sure, I'm clicking on that. I know the Velma show is bad, and I've seen it, and it is just as bad as people say. Because it's like it's an example of like the overly cynical like cartoon. And I think I'm just getting really annoyed with non-genuine emotions in media because it's just really fucking just like sad. And sometimes I want to watch people like who actually, you know, want to achieve in life on media. I don't know, just me.
Am I on a hunger strike? Where the hell are my pancakes? Are you trying to choke me to death?
I think these guys only watch like, you know, whatever's like the Like, go out of your way to watch some other stuff, buddy. Like, I don't tell you people. It's like the guys who are like, I watched 8 seasons of Big Mouth and it was terrible. It's like, why? Why are you doing that?
I forgot cutties. Ah, crap, I'm all syrupy. Bathies!
I knew from the moment I saw the announcement trailer for...
I knew this. I saw Brown Velma. No, the Velma show, if I were to explain the Velma show, it is like, it has this weird, like, self-insert fanficky vibe, right? Like there's something very, like, I wanted to do a show like this, but I can't, so I'm doing the Velma show. That's what it feels like. And it really doesn't justify its own existence as a reinterpretation of Scooby-Doo, which you can reinterpret, but it just feels very insincere.
Velma that it was going to be a giant trash fire of epic proportions, and it still managed to disappoint me with how god-awful the actual show turned out. I've been seeing a lot of discussion surrounding this show lately and thought to myself, maybe I'll let the rest of the internet handle this one. At least that was my initial reaction. But then I remember the Dead Space remake doesn't come out for—
Yeah, so I that's what I think Gen V kind of does a little better, right? So where a soup who's like, every single character who's like a soup in The Boys is depicted as like some fucking sycophant. But they're in reality, there are just straight up people who would be. I think there are people who would just be good people, you know. But it's like obviously Vought being there presents itself as like a conflict for a lot of those people.
For another week, and I had nothing else to do, so I decided to watch the first 2 episodes on HBO Max out of curiosity. And now, all I want is a time machine to get back the time I feel was stolen from me.
Listen, man, gratuitous sex jokes is like whatever for a show like this. You know, it's not an indictment of the show, which I feel like you're trying to present it as.
Just for wanting to acknowledge that this thing even exists. I haven't seen an animated show this horrible in a very, very long time. And it's not just for surface level reasons either. I know there's a lot of people who want to talk about the race washing of the characters they did as a joke, or how cute the show thinks it is with its super meta commentary on television tropes and internet culture while failing miserably and making you cringe out of existence. You don't get to make these kinds of jokes when you have this little self-awareness in regards to the quality of your product. The actual reason this show sucks is that it's just very badly written. I know I don't talk about it a lot, but I happen to like Scooby-Doo quite a bit.
I find if you were to watch every episode of Scooby-Doo, you'd be like, I've kind of seen it. After you've seen one, I think it's a really great piece of historical media. But would you watch one? You kind of watch them all.
Bit. So it's no surprise this show rattled me a little, so let's talk about why I hate it so much. First off, they made the characters completely unrecognizable.
Insert joke about Has-Been Hotel. I like Has-Been Hotel. I'm a fan of musicals. And it doesn't okay, here's why I don't feel like it's cynical despite all the swearing and weird shit that happens in it. It feels like somebody really just wanted to make their OCs into a TV show. And so I just sit there and I watch, man, somebody convinced fucking Amazon to give them like millions of dollars to make a fucking OC TV show. Like, that's insane.
Removing them of any identity or familiarity with fans. They're completely devoid of—
There's like a level of spectacle with Has-Been Hotel. And also it's very hard to do a musical and not give a shit. Right? It's hard to like make a musical and you actually like don't care. Like, if you've ever watched the Family Guy musical episodes, you know that Seth MacFarlane loves musicals. Okay? Like, you know that he's a huge fan of that, and that if Seth MacFarlane could have his way, he'd write fuckloads of musicals.
Any personality and turned into a bunch of obnoxious, one-dimensional stereotypes. Whether it's Velma being a pretentious narcissist, Daphne being a stuck-up bully, Shaggy being an unappealing nerd.
Have you watched Hell of a Boss? Yeah, I've watched both. I think I enjoy the writing of Hell of a Boss more, but I do like the musical numbers of Has-Been. But if I had to like sit down and watch one, I'd probably pick Hell of a Boss. Just because I find the characters more engaging.
Being... Oh my lord, can we take a moment to talk about what the fuck they've done to Fred in this show? So the idea is that he's supposed to be this self-absorbed idiot with a privileged life since he has rich parents, with some low self-esteem due to daddy issues and slow puberty. That in itself is not a bad idea. It can work with the right amount of care put into it.
But like, with the Has-Been and Hell of a Boss stuff, there's just... people really struggle with critiquing it because I think they get really fixated on Vivzy Pop as like the creator. There's like this weird like anti with it, and it just kind of like taking the critique seriously a lot of the time becomes very frustrating because everybody's got like this weird axe to grind, and it's like at some point I kind of like throw my hands up about internet drama and go, okay, like what is actually this show about? Right? Like this stuff that you could probably throw at the Oni Plays guys very easily and have had thrown at the Oni Plays guys in the past. Right? But I think Smiling Friends is good enough that I think people should give it a shake anyway. I like the Stolas Blitz soap opera stuff. I like the romantic drama. And also it's like it plays the romantic drama pretty straight. And for me, I see a lot more romantic comedies these days than like anything taking itself seriously. And I know it's a comedy show, but it handles that pretty like straight, which is very uncommon for a show like that. I've been meaning to watch the Gaslight District pilot. It does look very nice.
Instead, they decide to write Fred off as a walking punch.
But it's nice to see that there's like independent media that's like coming out now. Speaking of like Amazing Digital Circus, fucking Gaslight District, all that stuff is really great to see, because I think we've had this barrier for a long time. Because make no qualms about it, the industry, the media industry, has a humongous glass ceiling standing not between any one particular person, but all people and the powers that be. So it's really hard for anybody to be somebody and make it in the industry. So it's really great to see that happen. Smiling Friends, Vivzy Pop, fucking like Glitch or whoever is behind Amazing Digital Circus or whatever. That stuff I think makes a huge difference in getting through like the glass ceiling of the medium. I was talking with a guy recently where he runs a studio, and I went to his studio, beautiful studio, and he does pharmaceutical commercials, and he'll meet up with his homies all the time, and they'll make movies. But he hasn't really broken into like industry proper. He's like, it's been 6 months since my last paycheck. Could you guys imagine going 6 months without a paycheck? Because that's just how the industry is. And that's really how that kind of industry is. It's actually really fucking insane. So it's nice to know that people can make it without having to be in the club per se.
Line. He's an incompetent buffoon, constantly making a fool of himself and completely incapable of doing anything by himself. He's a 3-year-old in a man's body, and trust me, it's a lot harder to watch than I made it sound. And forgive me if this is just a me thing, but I find it very suspicious that the only character written to be like this also—
I think the growth would have happened faster if its money earning structure didn't change to be terrible for artists.
Yeah, I think it would have. It's just, it's nice that there are ways for people to make the income, but like there was, it definitely hurt a lot of animators in the space. I think YouTube animation has really suffered because of the changes, and the storytime animation is like the only way that you're going to make money. And I'm sorry, but like, what is the odds one out doing? Have you guys played his board game? Because it's not good. But it's nice to see guys. Obviously they got a lot of money, but like Corey Kenshin working on a manga, and like I know it's going to be turned into a pilot. You know, like Godslap. I don't know Critical's entire role in that. He doesn't seem to be that involved. But it's really nice to see those things, because for someone like me who wants to make things and make things that are more complicated than just doing fucking streaming or whatever the fuck I do, it makes me go, oh, I can do this, or oh, this actually is a thing that exists. I know you had a Netflix show, Oswald Out. I mean, I can't imagine what that's like. Zaid, I actually don't care about your opinions on the Velma show. I think whatever you say, you're correct. Fred is a dumb babby. Mindy Kaling is a bitch. Yada yada yada. Whatever. There's a lot of videos here. I know he's got a video out. Let's see, you got any posts out? Dude, he's still bitching about this random fucking guy. Oh, that was 3 weeks ago. I think I streamed about him more than 3 weeks ago, though. He does have a point that the word woke is used way too much and has lost almost all meaning. Also, that harassing the actress is pretty horrible. The Star Wars fandom is pretty infamous for harassing actors. That's true. Let's see what he says to this. The problem is that no one was harassing Ziegler. That's baloney. I guarantee you people were harassing her. I guarantee you people were passing her. She was rightly mocked for her comments on the original Snow White and for her obnoxious behavior in interviews and whatnot. Dude, she's like fed those lines by a publicist. What are you talking about? like this is an actor, not like a fucking politician. I doubt no one on a Twitter account, on account of her blocking anyone who's not like her, or worse, thinks like her. Right? I'm more immature than the lady who continuously ran her mouth in interviews and Twitter posts leading up to a movie. Do you know that actors don't like actually, you know, like they're selling a product when they go to those interviews. It's not them giving their actual opinions on anything. All right. I have a feeling that Anthony Mackie would actually have a lot to say about Marvel if he wasn't monetarily tied to it. Yeah, remember when Star Wars fan bullied an actual child who played baby Anakin? Dude, this guy's grinding his fucking gears about Jeff Movie Man. Oh my god. Well, I feel like we've all learned something here today. Like, yeah, Zaid thinks Tom Holland actually regularly leaks info. Yeah, no, he doesn't. That's all part of the marketing. The lesson is to take a shower to talk to people. I think I'm going to ride off into the sunset. It was a good stream. It was nice and a little different. It was nice to talk about something that my degree is in. All right, guys. Have a good night.